Friend of Valseren, I have a proposal for you. Tranquil greetings, Caraval. You will forgive me if I seem awkward. We rarely entertain guests here on Artaeum. I am Kelleris. Right Master Ichesis told me a great deal about you. I suspect he has plans for you within the Psijic Order. The Right Master holds you in high regard. That is proof enough of your worthiness. The Psijic Order requires practical wisdom, outside perspective. Unless I miss my guess, you can provide both. You would be a worthy addition to our ranks. Eager to begin? Good. Eagerness is just what we need. Your first lesson begins now. The Order has detected a number of irregularities on Tamriel. Small breaches in the fabric of time. I would like you to seal them for me. The first cluster of time breaches appeared on the Isle of Summerset. You should start there. Go speak with my apprentice, Josaja, in the Athenaeum. She will provide the tools you need, a map, Psijic seals, and the Augur of the Obscure. A noble heart and a solemn commitment to the good. Achieving membership in the Psijic Order is a serious and lasting endeavor. You must be prudent, but fearless, withdrawn, but compassionate. It is not something to be taken lightly. Too reclusive, I fear. The truth is that we have grown old, Caraval. A mixed blessing, I suppose. Long years of seclusion have allowed us to study and learn, but always at the cost of our relationship with the outside world. We need youth, vigor. As your knowledge of the old ways grows, so too will the rewards. For instance, we are prepared to teach you new and powerful spells. As in all things, the best teacher is experience. This matter of the time breaches will act as your exam. Only this. Purge yourself of selfish intent. Membership in the Psijic Order will bring you both prestige and power. But such honors often lead to Wegnithir, the bad change. What you do in the Order's name, you do for others, never yourself. The map will show you the approximate location of each time breach. I apologize. Our visions, while powerful, are not always specific. Make your way to each X on the map, then use the Augur of the Obscure to discover the anomaly's exact location. These time breaches are not visible to mortal eyes. The Augur, however, perceives time and space very differently. Gazing through it will allow you to peer through the veil, to see things both visible and invisible. Things like these breaches. Precisely. Think of them like bandages, I suppose, or tourniquets. The chrononymics they contain will stabilize the rifts and harden the walls of time around them, rendering the breaches harmless. They are quite easy to use, I promise. I serve as the chief law master here on Artaeum, a grand title for a modest pursuit, truth be told. I protect and maintain our various libraries and archives, safeguard the details of our Order's history, that sort of thing. 863 at last count, not including the Right Master's personal collection, of course. Don't trouble yourself looking for them. Many of them exist in quasi-planes and hermetic mind spheres. It helps keep things tidy. Comparatively, yes. Many of my peers spend their days examining the nature of reconstituted souls and studying Etara dream residue. Still, I love my work. It also affords me the opportunity to spend time with our initiates. Of sorts. I educate students on the importance of compassion, discipline, objectivity, and the like. Our Order's chief virtues. It can be very rewarding, provided the students take such lessons to heart. I am confident you will be such a student.
Forgive me, friend of Valserin. These tomes require my strict attention. Some of them have a tendency to misbehave.
Yes, can I help you? Right. You're the Order's new initiate. I didn't expect you so soon. Things here on Artaeum are normally, you know, snailish. I transcribed our seer's visions onto the map there, and collected these Psijic seals. The augur, however... I don't. Please don't tell the lore master. It tricked me into dismissing the binding charms that keep it here, in the Athenaeum. Then it popped like a bubble and vanished. It escaped before, but never on my watch. Mercifully, yes. I just scried its location. It looks like it reappeared somewhere on the shores of Wastin Coraldale. It didn't take long for some sea elves to scoop it up and squirrel it away. You'll have to steal it back. I am sorry, truly. I'm indebted. You'll definitely need the augur on your quest. Without it, you'll never find those time breaches. The lore master didn't tell you? All right. How to explain it? The augur is a skull. Sort of. It's really a crystalline entity that resembles a skull. Some think it's from the head of an ancient mage, but I don't believe that for a minute. It's hard to say. Once you have a few conversations with it, you'll see what I mean. Yes, incessantly. I think that's why Lore Master Kellerus made me its caretaker. No one else wants to listen to it. You should know that it lies constantly, unless you ask it a direct question. If you do that, it's compelled to always tell the truth. It will. Stirring up the augur's fascinating. I just wish the little bugger wasn't so sneaky. The seals are one of the Order's oldest tools. They act as a sort of anchor, shoring up any wayward spirits or forces in a given place. When Nirn was still young, the veil was much looser, more unpredictable, you know? So the Aldmer made these. None at all. We've been refining them for thousands of years, remember? Just take one in your hand when you reach a tear, and the seal will do the rest. I am. You look surprised. Right, of course. It's not racial bias. The Psijic Order doesn't have any axes to grind. It's just a matter of circumstance. Psijic study is an Aldmeri tradition, for one thing. High elves also live a long time and have more natural aptitude. It's a long story. I was the heiress to a crown magnifica. Our house was prosperous, well-respected. When Kellerus offered to take me to Artaeum, I cast off my duties immediately and left the family's fortunes in the hands of my brother. He drove our family into shame and poverty. Pretty much immediately. I try not to think about it. Let's change the subject, all right? You have lots to do and very little time to do it.
You saved the Queen. Stars keep you safe, traveler. question in passing?
Seals. Fond of winged snakes and soggy chests. Noted. Ah, fleshy, thick-thumbed biped. Hello. You're an elf, right? Or is it a man? I'm sorry. I have some difficulty telling you people apart. You're much less blue than the others. In color, I mean, not disposition. Anyway, what can I do for you? Josiah. Wait, you're talking about that jittery mage I tricked into freeing me, right? Oh, she's a delight. I had hoped for a longer holiday. Can only manage a leap like this once a century, after all. Ah, well. I'm actually quite comfortable here, mate. Cozy accommodations, the transliminal tones of the ocean waves, gangly meat brains to mock. But I guess I should be going. These elves plan to sell me. Can you imagine? I'll help you. On one condition. When we're done sewing up these chronosymphonic when we're done sewing up these time breaches, you'll let me wander the Mundus in peace. No more dim-witted Psijics peppering me with questions. No more dusty shells. You have a deal? Right. So, should we get going, or...? Of course you do. Everyone asks questions, and I have all the answers. Fair warning. Be specific. I'm bound to tell the truth, but the truth can be a little slippery. You know what I mean? I'm a traveler like you, except, well, nothing like you, to be honest. No offense. I'm what you might call an aspect, eh? Like an idea's shadow. Don't make a face, I'm telling you the truth. Not my fault your language is so crude. I'm not in the skull. I am the skull. At least here on Nern. Over in the adjacent place, I'm shaped like a throat pillow. Imagine that. You look confused. It's just a trick of the light, mate. The skull's what you might call a manifestation. Of me! Ah, this is just sad. Try this. Imagine a soul gem. Got it? Now imagine that the soul in the gem is also the gem itself. Weird, right? Ha! Mime and a head explosion. You can't see it because I haven't got any arms, but it's happening. I am one of the unfortunate quirks of the Psijic binding ritual that brought me here. I'm free to lie as much as I like, unless you, or anyone else for that matter, ask me a direct question. Cheap trick if you ask me. They did, a bit. I'm certain I could break out if I really put my mind to it. I don't blame them, honestly. If I was in their position, bobbing along like a little lost acorn in an ocean of knowledge, I'd want to trap me too. I guess, but instantaneous translocation's not like a Sundar stroll. The veil here in Mundus is all thick and sticky, you know? Like I said before, I think I'm grounded for the foreseeable future. Oh well. I am. I had no idea you were so funny. We're gonna have a really good time, you and I. Yes, in answer to your direct question, I do know a lot, and by a lot, I mean basically everything. Well, an augur of the obvious wouldn't be very useful, would it? For what it's worth, I lobbied for something way more impressive. The resplendent skull of hexagonal wonders! It was forcefully vetoed. No counting for taste, I guess. Of course I do. Everything has a name. Names give a thing its shape. Birds, snowflakes, tea kettles, you get the idea. I'd tell you mine, but you'd need about 6 more tongues and a pair of symbols to pronounce it correctly, so let's not bother. Fair enough. So, where to? I assume you've got a map or something? So, you know where we're going now, right? Good. You take me to a time breach, and I'll help you spot it. Huh. This bag's a bit snug, eh?
Cloud rest destroyed by shadows. Could it be true?
Breach nearby. I don't know why you're so intent on sealing them. Linear time is so overrated. Just imagine, you could die before you were even born. Wait, that's horrifying, isn't it? I'm sorry. Never mind. Oh, you're going to love this one. I'm seeing a tiny island surrounded by... It's either water or cats. Difficult to say. Let's hope it's the cats, eh?
Trapped! Which one could he possibly be?
You know, coral's just weird sack animal bones, right? So, this is a bit like a cemetery, I guess. Ugh, you do not want to know what their ghosts look like. Old cheese. I'll leave it at that.
Look, I apologize, and then I apologize again.
Ooh, a spooky cliff-top estate. What a fine place for a breach. All sorts of ghastly things happened here. I can tell you that. I'd shudder if I had shoulders. I'm kidding, of course. Mortal fear is hilarious.
Perhaps it's a Daedra. One of the Nebarah could have summoned it.
Keep your guard up. We may not be so lucky if more of these creatures attack.
Ah, there's a breach here. Said he's a bit gaudy, eh? At least by mortal standards. Where I come from, this would be a little more than a preppy. I'm kidding, of course. Ellen Key's where I come from. More ruins. You know, every stone tells a story. I mean that literally, by the way. That wall over there won't shut up about how much it hates rain. Let's find this breach and get out of here, eh? This breach is in a zoo! Wow! You know, I'm endlessly fascinated by animals. A bit like walking plants, eh? Except with more, you know, fluids. Ugh, what a word that is. A breach near the sea. Ah, I do love the ocean. It's a shame you can only see it in 3 dimensions. All the quasi-tones and endless number forms. Actually, I take it back. Your meat brain would explode if you saw this. Oh, I hear a breach nearby. You can't, can you? Count yourself lucky. Sounds like a swarm of bees bouncing around in a 10 bucket full of sleigh bells. It's sort of like that racket bards make.
Welcome back, Initiate. Have you done as I asked? Are the time breaches on Summerset Isle truly sealed? Well done. Well done indeed. You already seem well versed in the cardinal virtues of our order. Altruism, foresight, precision in both thought and action. You will be a true asset to the order. Of that I am certain. Speak with Josarja. She will want to know that the augur is safe, no doubt. Yes, I know all about its sudden disappearance. You did well in recovering it. I bade her give you something, your first step on the path. She awaits you in the Athenaeum.
Thank goodness you're back. I hope the augur didn't give you too much trouble. I know it can be a handful. Now, the lore master asked me to give you something. The first of many gifts. The most valuable gift. Knowledge. Please, use it carefully. When I learned my first spell, I accidentally banished a toad to the far ends of time. At least I think I did. It hasn't come back yet. Congratulations, you've earned it, and my thanks. First-rate work in Summerset, really, first-rate. Unfortunately, we have another problem. Are you ready to set out again? Our seers detected more of these time breaches, this time in the Iliac Bay region, my homeland. The lore master and I will keep searching for the cause of the disturbances. In the meantime, we need you to seal them. Yes, take this map of the region, more Psijic seals, and the augur. I hope the breaches haven't grown more powerful. Stay safe, and just make sure Alakir weathers this, all right? I know, I shouldn't. I have to stay detached. Oh, never mind. May the old way guide your steps. The lore master was very impressed by your work in Summerset. He's a hard mer to know, but he's always been generous with his praise. I just wish I could be a better student. Well, not in the traditional sense. Oh, don't get me wrong, I'm a very proficient mage. That's what caught the lore master's eye when he found me in the Alakir. I just struggle with some of the deeper lessons. The philosophy. The Psijic Order isn't just a collection of wizards. It's a world view, you know? A state of mind. It's not enough to be a talented mage. You have to learn to see things in a different way, to cultivate a detached and virtuous perspective. Some days I think I'm making progress. Then other days like today, I see how far I have to go. A true Psijic would see all people and regions as equals. But for me, part of me never left the Alakir. My heart's still in the desert. Yes, I would never admit it to the lore master. But yes, I'm sorry. I don't mean to bother you with this. You're just starting out after all. Just forget I said anything. Be safe.
doing that thing where water squirts out of your skin, aren't you? Sweating, eh? Ugh. You people think I'm weird. Let's find this breach and cool off. Yeah, there's a breach nearby. Say, did you know there are 6.5 quadrillion grains of sand in the Alakir? Oh, come on! Don't act like you're not impressed. Ah, look, Yokudan Ruins. You know, the Yokudans could make magic idea swords using nothing but their brains. Bit of a waste, that. But I've made a very comfortable chair. This is picturesque, eh? Aside from all the imps and such. Did you know that imps have belly buttons? Please, don't ask me why. Another breach near that tree, I think. Fun fact, all deciduous trees love accordion music. Just more proof that all trees are idiots. Zombies. You ever try to talk to a zombie? They won't let you get a word in edgewise. Just groan this and moan that. Ugh, let's find this breach and leave, eh? Definitely a breach here, mate. Say, I was thinking, maybe we should get something for Jasaja to cheer her up. I'm thinking meat of some variety. You meat brains like meat, right? I'm seeing a breach by our waterfall. Or maybe a flight of very wet stairs? Stairs are a bit silly, eh? Why not just flip gravity and fall up? Another breach by the sea. Shep's seen better days, eh? It's like I always say, the only thing you should make out of wood is nothing. Wood is ridiculous.
Welcome back, Initiate. I hope the augur didn't give you too much trouble. So, was your journey a success? Is Alakir safe? Well, that's a relief. For now, at least. I'm afraid the situation has grown more complicated. But we can discuss that later. For now, you've done the Order proud. You're clearly ready to take your next steps. Use this wisely. Are you prepared for your next task? I'm afraid we need to quicken the pace. Oh, was that too pushy? Sorry, I'm just a bit anxious, you know? Our seers detected a new cluster of breaches in the lands of Morrowind and Skyrim. The elder members of the Order don't want to admit it, but I'm afraid these distortions are growing stronger. But there's good news. We think we found the cause. The Lore Master and I, while you made your way across Alakir, we reached out with projections, looking for objects of power. We found one, the Staff of Towers. The Lore Master's confident we can find it. You should speak with him when you return. Thank you, Initiate. I honestly don't know what we'd do without your help. I keep telling the Lore Master I can assist you. I mean, I did spend my entire childhood on the continent after all. I suppose he knows best. Yes, the actual staff created by the Archmage Enumeral in the First Era. If we're right, this could be the greatest arcane discovery in millennia. According to the Psijic histories, the staff could bend and shape time itself. We can't say for certain, yet. I should warn you, the Lore Master finds this all very troubling. Magical artifacts always present a destabilizing influence. You know by now that a lack of stability does not sit well with our Order. I'm very concerned. An artifact left out in the wild for any hedge mage to find. Results could be disastrous. It should be here on Artaeum. I need to get back to our research. We should have more answers when you return.
Snow! Can we make a snow thing? Snow person? Whatever? You know, if you make it right, it develops a sad little soul. Of course it melts later. Bit of a shame that, but we can name it and everything. Careful around here, mate. This breach is surrounded by trolls. They're a lot smarter than you think. They're banging rocks together now, sure, but once they start wearing pants, woo! Look out. Reach home, mate. While you look, I will regale you with a hilarious joke. What do you call a ligosmotic dreamwave on its birthday? A vent swaddle. Get it? A vent swaddle. Never mind. Looks like a buyer's market around here, right? Gotta tell you, I see a lot of potential, mate. Lava front views, open floor plan, plenty of ventilation. Oh, it's a gold mine. definitely a breach nearby. And, ooh, that's a rowdy one. This place is tense, eh? Might have something to do with the mountains strangling each other. Who's to say? What a view! Aside from the coral over there. Be glad your silly faceholes can't smell colors. Ugh, that orange smells like old fags fill out of an ogre's bottom. Let's find this breach, eh? So, Staff of Towers, eh? Lots of peril there, mate. I've got to admit, though, I'm very excited to see how it turns out. I'd say, what, a 60% chance time folds inside out? We'll see. Another breach up ahead, mate. Uh-oh. I see many, many stairs in our future. Well, your future. No legs, remember? But don't worry, I'll be right behind you. Doing very little. This stream's a pleasant enough place for a breach. Just watch out for beavers, eh? Sure, they look friendly enough, but they're just little waddling balls of hatred. Seriously.
Greetings, Initiate. You arrived not a moment too soon. I assume that Josaja gave you a summary of our predicament. The Staff of Towers has returned. I was skeptical at first, but there is no longer any room for doubt. Josaja made the discovery, an exemplary feat of arcane inquiry. I find myself filled with a mentor's pride, and no small measure of dread. A teachable moment. As a member of the Psijic Order, you must know that great power always walks hand in hand with great peril. Even in the hands of a right master, an artifact like this can churn up untold horrors. Truth be told, it already has. Misuse of the staff led to something called a dragon break in the First Era, a catastrophic disruption of linear time that lasted the better part of 1,000 years. Trust me when I say that is something we cannot afford to repeat. The threats we face are grave indeed. Fortunately, the old ways always provide. Wisdom in the face of uncertainty, patience in the face of turmoil, and of course, strength in the face of danger. Take this, Initiate, and my thanks. Now our work begins in earnest. The Staff of Towers must be recovered. Shall we begin? The staff comprises 8 pieces, one for each of Nirn's girding towers. Whatever force drew the staff back to Tamriel scattered these pieces across the continent. We managed to scry the locations of 4 of them. The others elude us. For now. Helen Graveyard in Bangorai, Lecky's Blade in Alakir, the Great Hist in Shadowfen, and the Fang Spires in Disham. Once you arrive at a breach, activate the auger and it should light a path to the artifacts. Josaja can tell you more. Safe travels.
You spoke to the Lore Master, right? You should be setting out for Tamriel. What brings you? Checking on me, no doubt. I'm fine, really. The Lore Master and I had a brief disagreement, but it's fine. I'm sure he's right. I just needed a moment to think on it. The Staff of Towers. I discovered that each piece emits a unique temporal wave, almost like an artist's signature. I ran to the Lore Master to show him. Nearly tripped over my robe on the way. I thought he'd be proud, but he just went pale. I know, but just between the two of us, don't you think we could put an item like that to good use? Imagine being able to shift time to avoid the plane meld, or cure the Nahatan flu before it took hold. It's worth at least discussing, right? Yes. Yes, I guess you're right. It's just that when things happen to you, to your family, things you can't fix, the power to set things right can be very tempting. Anyway, I've talked enough. Don't worry about me. Just find those fragments. Ah, right. Finding these pieces of the staff will require a bit more legwork. As I said, each of the fragments emits a unique temporal wave, but the point of origin remains hidden. We were only able to locate points where those waves crash. Exactly. Once you find a breach, you can use the auger to track the waves back to their source, the staff fragment. The trail should manifest as a series of lights. Just follow the lights and you'll find what we're looking for.
Another graveyard? All kinds of treasure tucked away in the dirt here, mate. We could find that staff piece, sure, but would you rather dig up an old pelvis? No? Hey, you're lost. Well, it's the Adamantine Shard. Have a care where you drop that thing, eh? This bag's stuffed as it is. The ruins of Lecky's Blade. Really gets you thinking, eh? About mortality. The long, slow march of time. The grim inevitability of death, decay, obscurity. Whew! Glad I don't have to worry about that. The Orichalk Fragment. I don't know much about the Orichalk power anymore, but it was always my favorite. I love ugly, sunken, long-forgotten things.
What?
Shadowfen? The Hesta insufferable. Honestly, they're so smart. Why can't they stop leaking their sap all over the place? Don't drop me in there, by the way. Stuff's impossible to wash off. Crystal fragments. Oof. This is an odd one, mate. It's here, but it's also somewhere else. Several other somewheres, in fact. Don't think about it too hard. It's bad for your meat brain. Deshan, eh? A lot of transliminal dead residue here. Must be the Fesh. Did you know Fesh experience 37 different varieties of fear? That's why they always look surprised. Quark brass. Oh, this one's a puzzler, mate. If a numeral created the stuff of towers in the first era, how do you know about a tower the dwarves hadn't made yet? Ow! Brain explosion!
Welcome back, Initiate. I see you have recovered all the staff fragments. Such a collection of artifacts. It is difficult to miss. Excellent. I will find a safe place for them here in the Tapora Tower. 4 less artifacts in the world eases my mind considerably. Once we find the remaining 4 fragments, our task will be complete. Regrettably, we have not located them yet. Our scryers discovered the first 4 by studying the collision of tonal waves. The Psijic seals you placed in Tamriel provided information that was vital to this pursuit. Exactly. Each time breach you seal brings us closer to recovering the remaining fragments. I knew you would be an asset to the Order, but you have exceeded even my expectations. You are clearly prepared for greater things. Take this, and my thanks. Are you ready for another journey to Tamriel, Initiate? Another cluster of time breaches appeared in the Wood Elves' homeland, Valenwood. We need you to seal these breaches, just as you did before. Josaja will provide the tools you need. May I ask another favor of you? Please, just take a moment and discuss this matter of the staff with Josaja. I fear that she still resents my decision to lock the fragments away. She suffered a trauma. The promise of this staff could create an unwelcome distraction.
It's good to see you again, Initiate. The Lore Master told you about the breaches in Valenwood, right? I have your equipment here. I'm fine. I wish that he'd stop, I don't know, hovering. I won't lie to you. I'm disappointed that we won't have the opportunity to study the staff and its time-distorting properties. But that's ultimately his decision. I will abide by it. He's referring to my family's fall, no doubt. My family dealt in trade, ferrying goods from Sentinel to remote Imperial holdings. My father was always selective when it came to contracts. My brother, Afar, never took those lessons to heart. Yes, a disastrous deal. Shortly after I left, the Longhouse Emperor Leovic put out a call for an Alakiri trader to transport a shipment of arms across the desert. Afar leapt at the opportunity. He used our entire estate as collateral. Exactly what you'd think. The caravan was waylaid by bandits, and the Empire seized our lands, our businesses, everything. My family fell into abject poverty. Some turned to begging, theft, or worse. So, now you know. You should get going. I'm fine, Initiate. You should set out soon.
think there's a breach here. Hard to say with all these alien ruins lying about. You would not believe how many ghosts are asking me for favors right now. Ghosts, am I right? They're never satisfied. Gil Vardell. Of course a breach pops up here. You know that blowhard Molag Ball sat on this place a while back, right? Or stepped on it or something. I don't know. Anyway, be careful. Definitely another breach here, mate. First rule of finding rifts in time, always check the creepy, decrepit towers first. Looks like there's another breach here in what can only laughingly be called a maze. Alright, mate. If you get lost in this thing, I'm gonna have to take a long, hard look at our relationship. There's definitely a breach around here somewhere, Meat Brain. You don't mind me calling you Meat Brain, do you? I mean, as mundane physical brains go, you're really top of the class. Lots of people gathering around this breach. Odd. They've all got little tails. Wait, I get it now. They're monkeys. I'm telling you, mate, it's impossible to tell you all apart. Might want to hurry, mate. That bony gem collector Mollog Ball has his eyes on this breach. Bit of a cat lady, that one, eh? Stuffing his plane full of sad little souls. It's a mess is what it is. Breach ahead. That Kelleris is a real stick in the tree, eh? Stick in the dirt? Or something? Look, I can't keep track of all your ridiculous idioms. Doesn't even make any sense.
This one never trusted Ambassador Tarim.
More than a few snakes around this breach, mate. Ugh. Surly little beasts, always waggling along, no arms or legs. I don't have arms or legs either, but you don't see me biting people.
There you are. I was wondering when you'd return. Did all go well in Valenwood? Excellent. And by the way, I'm sorry about how I've been acting. You've done nothing but help the Order. I had no right to take my frustrations out on you. It isn't, but thank you all the same. Honestly, it was good to speak about my family again. The Psijic Code makes conversations like that difficult. Thank you. The scryers are already clamoring about all the information coming back from the Psijic seals you placed. We'll locate the last 4 pieces of the staff soon. I know it. In the meantime, take this. I'm sure you will put it to good use. From what the lore master tells me, the scryers are nearly halfway to locating the last 4 pieces of the staff. Placing another batch of Psijic seals should give them all the information they need. Are you ready for another trip to the continent? A new cluster of time distortions appeared in the swamps and fields north of Blackmarsh, Shadowfen, and Deshawn specifically. Take the auger, the seals, and this map of the region. At this point, I'm sure you know what to do with them. It might be worth talking to the lore master. He would never admit it, but I think something is bothering him. Something about the staff fragments.
Ah, Initiate. What a welcome diversion. I assume Josaja told you that our scryers are well on their way to locating the last 4 fragments of the staff. We have you to thank. Now then, can I help you with something? Progress. To be perfectly honest, no, we have not. It was my intention to keep the various fragments separate from one another, to seal them away in discreet hidden vaults. The results have been less than satisfactory. Some force keeps drawing the fragments back together. Despite my best efforts, they resist any attempt to fully separate them. I have tried safes, vaults, warding cases, but every time the fragments manage to reunite. Not yet, but I will say this. There is an intention to it. Of that I am certain. Something in these fragments yearns for reunification. To what end? That remains a troubling mystery. But those questions will keep. You have work to do, Initiate.
Breach around here somewhere. Oh, and by the way, Kelleris has no idea what he's doing with that staff. Ah well, dragon breaks aren't so bad. I'm joking. They're horrific, mate.
For the Covenant.
A dwarf hull. What a silly bunch they were. Always whacking sprockets with their little baby hammers, toiling away on their tiny brass xylophones. Good riddance, eh? Rocks, water, more rocks. Wait, that's it. Breach nearby, mate. Sorry, just got distracted by all the behemoth mine snails. It's too bad you can't see them. They're really cute. Sort of. There's a breach here somewhere. Plenty of elf ghosts, too. Ugh, they won't stop shrieking about... It's either dying or pieing. Pieing's a word, right? To pie? Odd thing to get upset about. Breach ahead. Say, what is it with you bipeds and waterfalls? A deluge of happy water spirits cast to their doom, smashed to bits on the sullen rocks below? Hardly a recipe for romance, mate. breaching that Argonian settlement, I think. Ah, I love Argonian architecture. Who needs nails and hard angles? Just pile up some slop and call it a house. These ruins are dripping with old intention, mate. Forgotten dream forms, frothing hour beasts. Great place for a blood ritual, or a very unsettling birthday party. Dreg? Ugh, I'm telling you, mate, they used to be a lot more pleasant. Now these land dregs are all crab-faced and scabby. Shame. Let's find this breach and move on, eh? Yeah, there's a breach here somewhere. And something's eating it? I certainly wouldn't recommend that, unless you're really anxious to get sucked through your own belly button.
Welcome back, Initiate. No shortage of mud on your feet, I see. Did you manage to seal all the time breaches in the swamp? Well done. With those seals in place, we should have a much better idea of where the remaining staff fragments are hidden. I can't wait to see them. That was the plan, yes. But as he may have told you, separating the pieces has proven difficult, even for our most powerful monks. It looks like we'll have to study the staff after all. I'm sure I don't need to tell you how exciting that is. Maybe. The leadership seems confident enough, As for me, I'm just happy to have the opportunity to see it. Now, you should probably check in with the Lore Master. With any luck, our scryers have found the remaining fragments already.
Tranquil greetings, Initiate. It seems your efforts in the swamp proved fruitful. Just a short time ago, our scryers located the remaining fragments of the Staff of Towers. I am. But first, we should take a moment to acknowledge your achievement. A Psijic must never sacrifice the present at the cost of an uncertain future. Take this as a reward, Caraval. I suspect you will find a use for it before long. The time has come, Initiate. We must gather the final fragments of the Staff of Towers. According to our scryers' visions, fragments lay buried near the Brothers of Strife and Stonefalls, the Weeping Giant in Stormhaven, Greenheart and Greenshade, and the Spellscar in Craglorn. Each of these locations hold great orbic significance. You will no doubt find more time breaches near these landmarks. Once the augur attunes to them, it should light a path to the hidden artifacts. You must move quickly, Initiate. Only the Psijic Order is prepared to deal with objects this dangerous. There was one other thing I wanted to discuss with you, Initiate. It will just take a moment. Once you recover these remaining fragments, I would like you to bring them to me directly. I know that you and Josaja have grown more familiar, but allowing her to inspect these artifacts without supervision would be most unwise. You misunderstand. I trust Josaja implicitly, but avoiding temptation is one of the chief pillars of moral action. Her interest in this artifact and its potential applications is not purely academic. I sense a private, sentimental motive. Perceptive? Yes. The matter of her family. It is entirely possible that we have nothing to worry about, but an overabundance of caution is always warranted when it comes to objects of power. Now, I have delayed you long enough. Take care, Initiate.
Wait a minute. Haven't we been here before? Giant stone maniacs strangling each other to death? It's silly, eh? First one to crumble into rubble loses, I guess. What's this? The Red Tower Fragment? Careful with that one, mate. It's temperamental and full of spirit lava. That's the most dangerous kind of lava. is a prodigious statue. We don't build statues anymore where I come from. They always end up coming alive, sneezing death algorithms all over the place. Trust me, it was a mist. This one's a winner, mate. The white gold fragment. The Archmage Numeral carried it around all the time, you know. Slung around his scrawny neck like a cowbell. Classic alien, eh? Tree elves and their trees, am I right? They never sing them into anything interesting. Houses, bridges, chairs. When is someone gonna sing a tree into something useful, like a singing land boat? The green sap fragment, eh? You know, if you left it in the dirt long enough, it would have grown a new tower. Honest.
Do. This just won't do at all.
This place is awful. Feels like something's feeding my head through a lumber mill. And that noise! Can you hear that? Let's find this fragment and get out of here. The Snow Throat Fragment. Congratulations! Good for you. Now let's get out of here, eh? Teeth feel like they're gonna fall out of my face. Ow! Ow! Ow!
Old ways be praised. Welcome back, Initiate. I hesitate to ask, but I must. Were you successful? Did you recover the remaining staff fragments? What a great relief. You have the Order's deepest admiration. Alas, more work remains. With the introduction of 4 new fragments, the forces drawing the staff together may grow stronger. Hopefully, gathering all 8 will yield greater insights. If any society of mages can do it, it is the Psijic Order. You will no doubt be pleased to hear that Josaja has gained some valuable perspective. We spoke at length, and now she seems committed to disassembling the staff. Many tasks yet remain. Even with the staff of towers here in Artaeum, the time storms continue to rage on Tamriel. But for now, let us give proper recognition to your success. Take this knowledge, Initiate. You have most certainly earned it. Are you prepared to set out again, Initiate? As I said, this threat to Nirn is far from settled. Even with the staff fragments removed from Tamriel, time breaches continue to open across the continent. This time, in the forbidding land of Rivenspire. I only pray that they do not grow stronger now that the staff is so close to completion. We do. As always, the augur, map, and Psijic seals are prepared for your use. Josaja will provide them. Return to me once you have closed the breaches. We will solve this problem of the staff soon. You have my word.
Welcome back, Initiate. I can't believe you collected all 8 fragments of the staff. I know that we intend to render it inert, but there's no harm in learning more along the way, right? Now, I hear you're setting out for Rivenspire. Of course. Do I sound giddy? Sorry. I just never imagined we'd have a chance to actually study the staff. This promises to be very illuminating, at least for now. Of course. I mean, it will probably be some time before we discover the secret of keeping it fragmented anyway. You still doubt my intentions? I guess that's not surprising. I would not betray the Order, Initiate. Not even for my family's name. Yes, you will. Safe travels, Initiate.
Yuck, vampires. Pays not to have a neck sometimes, eh? Blood too, I guess. Of course, if you see any antipodal mouth grabbers, you'll let me know, right? You'd just love to get a bite of me. breach webbed up around here somewhere. Spiders are so adorable. Look at us! We've got 8 little spindly arms. Isn't it scary? Show me something with 8,000 arms and then maybe I'll get nervous. This one's deep, deep down, mate. Kinda like my general expectation of you meat brains. You! Oh, you far exceeded them. Not too hard to do, and they're practically non-existent, but still, kudos.
What is it?
Definitely a breach around here, mate. High up, I think. Or what passes for high around here, anyway. Take a look around those standing stones, eh? What is it with tipping stones, anyway? Didn't your ancestors have anything better to do? That's the problem with you bipeds. You never apply yourselves. Ah, pastoral bless. I'd make a fine farmer. Breeding dumb animals, making them work for nothing, slaughtering them in their prime. Sounds a bit worse when you say another breach tucked away in an old Breton ruin. Don't see many of those around, do you? You know they built it over an alien ruin, right? Can't wait to see what people build on top of this. Best find this breach before the tide comes in. Water's full of brain billies. Little spirit jellies that sting people's memories. Don't believe me? Think of that time you wet your pants. Hurts, right? Another breach out there. Maybe we should leave this one be, you know? Honestly, what's the worst that could happen? Wait, I'm not encouraging you to ask me that question. The answer is very graphic.
Tranquil greetings, Initiate. You carry yourself with a victor's confidence. Did you seal the breaches in Riven's spire? Excellent. I wish I could echo the sentiment. Our work on the Staff of Towers proceeds at a snail's pace. Every time we make a breakthrough, something interferes. At first, I thought it was the staff itself, expressing some otherworldly intention. I fear sabotage. After long consideration, I permitted Josaja to assist me in this endeavor. She was jubilant. But now, it seems her interest in the artifact remains personal. It brought me no pleasure, but I had to remove her from the project. Not well, but she will see the wisdom in it. Avoidance of temptation is a crucial element of moral action. In her heart, she knows this, perhaps better than most. But we digress. You have more than earned this reward. Use it wisely, Initiate. Are you prepared for one last journey to Tamriel? I believe our final success is nearly at hand. Now that we can labor over the staff without the complications Josaja introduced, I am confident we will render the artifact harmless soon. Unfortunately, one cluster of time breaches remains. This time in the barren land of Craglorn. Yes, precisely. Josaja will provide the items you need. I was hesitant to give her this task at first, but keeping her involved to some degree seemed prudent, and perhaps humane. You should go speak with her. She needs friendly counsel. Safe travels, Caraval. Let us both hope that when you return, this business of the Staff of Towers will be concluded. I am. Magic is an intensely personal exercise, Initiate. No two mages weave their spells in exactly the same way. Like painting or sculpting, each artist has their own distinctive style. Josaja's style is difficult to miss. I will not bore you with the finer details. Perhaps an analogy? Imagine an elaborate lock with thousands of tumblers. The master locksmith must learn their sequence and sensitivity before they can devise a key. Josaja switched the tumblers. Removing her from the project is punishment enough. In truth, the Order finds the idea of punishment repugnant. The road to justice often leads to a place of vengeance. Too often. Punishment should serve as an opportunity for growth, nothing more.
Oh, it's you. I assume the Lore Master sent you to collect your things for the trip to Craglorn. No, I'm not. Do I look... It's not your fault. I'm sorry. I'm not proud of what I did. But I was so close. I found Enumeral's journals in the stacks. There was a binding ritual in there. If I could get to the White Gold Tower... It's just a tool. Can you even imagine all the good we could do? Nahatan flu never happened. Plane melt never happened. My father's death never happened. My family's lives destroyed. Never happened. Just tell me you understand. Really? Even you? I thought... Never mind. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For all of this. Be safe in Craglorn. We'll meet again soon.
Watch your step around here, mate. This arena is what we in the dimension-hopping community call a really bad idea door. Daedric misdrift for sure. Let's find this breach and go, alright? There's a breach here, mate. I'm seeing a bridge or maybe a flat sideways tower people can walk on? I guess they're kind of the same thing. Only having 3 dimensions does make things simpler. breach ahead. Say, you think Josiah's alright? I can't always tell. Your weird little faces scrunch up when you're upset, but then you bare your teeth when you're happy. It's a puzzler. I can't believe this is our last outing. I feel like we've really bonded, you know? Not on a sticky alchemical level or anything. That would be very weird. You know what I mean. I'm gonna miss this. Plenty of history hereabouts. Perfect place for a breach. Just look out for gargoyles, eh? Ugly squatters. Always cluttering up the place, ruining the time-worn aesthetic. An eyesore, you know. Ah, Craglorn. Ever seen this many crags in one place? Its cup runneth over with crags. Not as many lawns as you'd expect, though. Pipe-hidden naming habits could use some work, mate.
Initiate. Something terrible has occurred. Return to Artaeum at once. Thank you for returning so quickly, Initiate. Our situation is dire. Shortly after you left, the fragments of the Staff of Towers disappeared. Stolen, I'm afraid, by one of our own. Regrettably, yes. The lion's share of the blame falls upon me for not recognizing the depths of her despair, pushing her away from the task when I should have kept her close at hand. But guilt and penance will have to wait. We have much to do. Difficult to say. She mentioned an alien-binding ritual she discovered. If it's successful, the catastrophe might be more limited in scope. But make no mistake, there will be a catastrophe if we do not act quickly to stop her. Indeed we do, and quickly. Take this initiate. You will need it during the trials ahead. Josaja was very thorough in her preparation. Apparently, she mastered the art of ghostly passage without my knowledge, a feat as impressive as it is frustrating. Attempts to scry her location have failed. We must take a more direct approach. I look through her things, an abominable breach of confidence, I know. In any event, I found some renderings of a mine her family once owned, Divad's Chagrin. It is both remote and largely untouched by world events. Perfect for her endeavor. Not for long. A familiar place can serve as a temporal anchor. If she went to Divad's Chagrin, she almost certainly plans to use it as a springboard into an unfamiliar place, an unfamiliar time. Take the auger and these seals, and find this mine. If you catch her, when you catch her, please exercise mercy and restraint. As you well know, Josaja is not evil, only misguided. May the old ways guide your steps, Caraval. Yes, that is precisely why this task falls to you. Psijics like the Right Master and I exert tremendous stress on the orbic forces around us. Our very existence presents arcane risk. If we approached a ritual like the one Josaja has planned. Frankly, I do not know. But I suspect the power of the staff would spin even further out of control, consuming Josaja in the process. You, though, you command the Order's power, but leave a far shallower footprint. I am truly sorry, Initiate. It pains me to send you into such peril alone. Rest assured, we will keep a close eye on your progress. Once you have rendered the staff inert, we will come to assist you immediately. Yes, and perhaps more importantly, an unfamiliar time. The staff's creator, Tamriel, reigned from the White Gold Tower. The White Gold staff fragment sits atop the other 7. It is possible that the tower itself may be required for her ritual. As I said, an unfamiliar time. The towers exist on a level beyond the physical, Initiate, apart from time in the way we understand it. If I was forced to guess where she was headed, the White Gold Tower would be my reply. Yes, that idea alone presents a series of frightening paradoxes. I truly hope I am wrong in this. In this, I can provide little more than supposition. Gripping the staff or attempting to sunder it would likely make things worse. Were I in your position, I would focus on its effects, rifts, breaches, inversions. Seal them first. It may. The power of the staff must have some means of escape, like breath from the lungs or air from a bellows. Without this, the power will swell beyond the staff's ability to contain it. The staff will either shatter into 8 inert fragments, or the power will coalesce into an impossibly dense orbic gyre, creating a new dragon break. Or perhaps something worse. I wish I could be more reassuring, but the old ways demand that we see things as they are, not as we wish them to be.
There's a time breach around here for sure, mate. And it's not petite. I hope you're sure about this. For your sake, I mean. There it is. After you, I guess. Hope you ate something light.
I use this staff to make right what once went wrong.
The staff's tearing her apart. Things are about to get very weird, mate.
An intruder in the Emperor's sanctum? To me! Slay the invaders!
A Josasha from an alternate timeline? She doesn't look happy. The time breach is vulnerable. Now seal it up tight.
What is this? Magic? You will pay for summoning me, weakling!
Another angry Josasha incoming! She brought another breach to seal. Hop to, hero!
The Staff of Towers. At last. Time is mine to control.
That breach! That's the last of them! Seal it! Josasha's the evil Psijic tyrant. Drew the short straw on this one, mate. It's over. Good work. For a meat brain, I mean.
Josasha, you're alive. I fully expected more chaos. I see our newest member has the situation well in hand.
They've been invaluable to this effort, Relic Master.
That is quite clear. Kellerus, see to your apprentice. I shall recover the Staff of Towers.
Yes, of course. I'll see to Josasha's welfare and ensure the staff is recovered. Return to Alteum when you are ready.
Is it... I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Was anyone hurt? I will never forgive myself if someone was... You know why, Initiate. Everyone knows why. I looked at the Staff of Towers and saw a world without consequences. A world where no sin, small or large, would go unpunished. Where nothing broken was beyond repair. I was wrong. I know. But some pain runs so deep that it blinds you, weakens your senses, makes you believe in the impossible. Have you ever felt a pain like that? What's time compared to all the people you love? It doesn't make sense, I know. No, and they shouldn't. I betrayed the Lore Master's confidence. betrayed the old ways, everything the Psijic stand for. No, I will face my justice. I will accept the punishment, whatever it is. I will surrender myself to the Psijic Order and face my punishment. Without your intervention, I shudder to think what my recklessness could have done to the fabric of time. I know you don't want to hear this, but thank you.
So, our adventure is coming to an end, eh? Look, can we talk in private? The Athenaeum, maybe? It won't be a moment. Thanks, mate. I know you've got other adventures ahead, but I wanted to just take a moment and speak face to Crystal's sort of face. Our deal, what else? When we set out, I held you to a promise. You said if I helped you, you'd try to keep me out of the Psijic Vault. Well, I helped. So? I knew you were clever. In answer to your direct question, yes, I know what you'll do. But I want you to look at me when you say it. So you're also saying it to yourself, see? A moment of truth and self-reflection. How exciting. Ah, the hero demurs. Well, suppose we'll find out soon enough. But enough of that. This might be our last farewell, mate. What's the custom? Cutting a vessel full of that swell you pour down your face hole and saying something saccharine? Yeah, of course. I could do with a bit of quiet and fresh air. Your bag, while cozy, is very, very loud. Did I? Does an oblique cogniform have infinite angles? Please don't hurt yourself. The answer is yes. It was great. The sights, smells, the incessant jingle of all your gear on my face. Dream come true, mate. No. Truth is, I've always known you bipeds have potential. Sure, most of you just stumble through your laughably short lives, making smaller versions of yourselves, urinating, cobbling shoes, I don't know. But every so often, there's a you. Sure. Must be hard, though, knowing you're a lion among endless hordes of baby-rearing, urinating, shoemaking sheep. How you keep from just slaughtering them all and conquering this place, I'll never know. Not that I advocate that sort of thing. That, my friend, depends entirely on you. If you put me back into the vault, I'll spend my days plotting another escape, in between bouts of violently cursing your name and swearing revenge, of course. And I suppose I'll find a new bag to settle in. Maybe Dressage's. I always liked her, and I think she's already got one boot out the door. She might not be quite as adventurous as you, but I'd take anyone over another century of boring questions. You know, the fact you didn't make your mind up about this 30 or so time breaches ago gives me cause to worry. I don't stew over it, mate. Either way, I'll make do. It's another few hundred years in the grand scheme of things, eh? No? Sure. Must be hard, though, knowing you're a lion. So, back into the bag I go, eh? Fair enough. Just try to make a little more room, all right? I like lumps of ore and rodent meat as much as the next trans-dimensional entity, but it gets ridiculous in there sometimes.
Ah, it does my heart good to see you, Initiate. The events of the last few days. I must admit, they have taken a toll. I was just preparing Josaja's proclamation of banishment. Not a simple task, I can tell you. Surely this comes as no surprise. She deceived me and the Right Master, stole an artifact of unimaginable power, and very nearly broke time itself. Exile is our only recourse. This brings me no joy. I care deeply for Josaja. It is tragic. Relic Master Glenadir sealed it in the vault of Moawita, and there it will remain. So long as I draw breath, that staff will never again see the light of day. I would not have entered into such a bargain, but given the circumstances, I understand. The Augur served us well, but we cannot permit objects of such power to roam free in Tamriel. In the wrong hands, its gift of foresight could prove costly. A bold suggestion considering her recent exploits. Still, Josaja is thirsty for answers, and the Augur is bound to provide honest counsel. Yes, this may work. The Augur will go to Josaja. She waits outside, preparing for her journey.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Even after all these years, I'm still in awe of this place. And now I'll never see it again. Forgive me. We both know this is a fate I brought upon myself. Is there something you need, Initiate? He'd entrust this to me? After all I did? How I disappointed him? I don't know what to say. Actually, come to think of it, I do. I will never disappoint my mentor again. I may be exiled, but the Augur and I will make a better world. You don't know what this means to me, to have a friend on such a lonely journey. Thank you. I hope you'll see me off. I'm to meet the Lore Master at the portal to Tamriel. I think I'll stay here just a few moments longer. I never knew how difficult it would be to say goodbye.
You saved the Queen. Stars keep you safe, traveler.
Tranquil greetings, Initiate. Have you come to deliver the Augur of the Obscure? I cleared a place for it in the vault. All is prepared. Oh? That is unusual. It was my understanding that the Augur's work was concluded. Does Kellerus plan to use it for some other purpose? Josaja? Well, that is an unlikely choice. But I defer, of course. Kellerus was blind to her motives before, but he knows her heart quite well now. Of that I am certain. If he thinks she is equal to the task, so be it. Thank you for informing me.
I'm so sorry for disappointing you, Lore Master.
It is as I always said, Josaja. Failure is an opportunity for growth. I hope this exile will lead you to better things.
Well, I guess this is goodbye. I'll take good care of the Augur. You have my word. Thank you, for everything. I deserve this exile, but I don't think I will ever deserve a friend like you. Take care of the Order for me, all right? First, I think I'll go home, to the Alakir. I have a lot of ghosts to confront, choices to make peace with. Changing the past was always a mirage. All we can do is face it and persevere. I'll do what I can to ease my family's burdens, to rebuild a sense of hope and set them back on the path to happiness. Then, travel. Definitely travel. As much as I love this place, there's a whole world to explore out there.
The time has come. Rest easy. I'm certain that both Josaja and the Augur will be fine. No, they will do better than that. They will thrive. Now you reap the harvest of your good works. Through your dedication and heroism, you have proved your worthiness. So I present this final gift. Beyond this, there is nothing I can teach you. Let the old ways proclaim, you are now a true Psijic.
Farewell.
Congratulations, Caraval. You now possess all the rights and privileges afforded to members of our order. Continue your studies. Use these powers for the good of all, and you will make this humble teacher very proud indeed.